USC at Stanford. Marco, what should bettors be looking at?
The big question to start it is how Stanford going to react after last week's big loss to Oregon, because that was so much hype leading into that game. But the good thing for them is,
All right, so how do you think they're going to react? Positive or negative?
it's got to be a negative at least coming out of the gate. You know, that you could be that dull effort the first quarter or whatever and get the wake-up call. Fortunately for them, they're playing a Southern Cal team, and that's twofold. One, Southern Cal, you still have the name, no matter if they're down or up. They've been the king of the Pac-10 for so long.
Which means Stanford's going to be motivated.
That's going to help the motivation factor. And then we've got a situation with Southern Cal. They are playing with revenge. Stanford embarrassed them on their home field last year. They ran up the score 55-21, and they had a big lead in the fourth quarter and kept scoring. And that, you know, so the USC players are not going to forget that. But on the same token, Stanford's been the bully for so long in the Pac-10.
You mean USC's been the bully?
Sorry, USC's been the bully for so long that I think that when teams have a chance to, you know, rub it in on this team, they're going to take their shots because they've been on the receiving end for so many years.
Okay, so let's try to break down. You laid out a few points here. Stanford has a negative in their column based upon that tough loss at Oregon. Though I'm going to question, I know emotionally it's negative. My question is, well, let me ask you. Though they fell short of expectation because they didn't cover, that's what the line is, expectation. Did you move Stanford up, down, or keep them the same in your power rankings after that game?
I moved them down a notch, not way down because of the competition that they did play in that game. This Oregon team is very good.
See, I disagree with that. I think Stanford played as well, if not slightly better than expected. I just think Oregon played so amazingly well that if anything, I think Stanford stays even in my power rankings and Oregon significantly improves.
I hear what you're saying. The reason I did what I did is because the way the game went. If I just look at the final score and say, okay, hey, they went to Oregon, Oregon's a great team. They had a 21-3 lead on the road and then just totally fell apart.
See, there's two ways to look at that. One is how amazing is it that they were able to get the 21-3 lead. So, and again, that's what's the beauty of handicapping is different opinions. So let's power ranking, let's say you're the head handicapper here, slight downgrade for Stanford. But now here's the question. Emotionally, it's got to be a sense of, hey, we could have had this thing and we didn't. But now the other question becomes, USC is such an important game, and these Stanford kids are smart, and they seem to be on a mission. They got a coach that has a mission about them. I don't think they're too emotional. I think they're going to be ready for the game.
Because it's USC, I think there's more likely that they will be. But you're the guy that always says about the goals. If you start the season, every team has a dream of the national championship, although that's a very lofty goal. Stanford, I think the way the season was unfolding, might have started to believe a little bit of that. That's gone. So let's go to goal number 2, the Pac-10 title. They're definitely in a big hole for that because the team they got to beat is Oregon, and if they finish in a tie, both with one loss, Oregon has it with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard to think that. And again, being up 21-3 might change this a little bit, but when you're on the road at Oregon and Oregon's ranked above you and you're getting a touchdown in that game, it's hard to be too disappointed when you lose, though they were up 21-3. It's a complicated psychological situation. Then when you add in that USC now is in historically underdog type situation, and actually the Associated Press reached out to me and I did some research on this I'm going to share now. USC hasn't been a dog since 2007. They went to Oregon. So 2008 they weren't a dog, 2009 they weren't a dog, 2010 they haven't been a dog yet. They were a dog once in 2007, not a dog in 2006, not a dog in 2005, once a dog, or I'm sorry, and then in 2004 they had been. So literally since 2004, they've only been a dog twice. They haven't been a double-digit dog since 1998. So it's been 12 years since they were getting 10 points. what does that mean to this USC team? Does it mean, oh my God, we're being disrespected? Or does it mean, hey, we've been debunked, we're really not that good, and we're going to get our ass handed to us?
You know, from a motivational standpoint, if I'm looking at the game, I look at that as a positive for Southern Cal, because the first time that somebody, you know, literally tells you you're not as good as you used to be, if you have any fight in you, you're going to bring your best game just to try to prove people wrong. And the fact that this is the first time that they are a dog, you know, you have that edge. But I will tell you this much. The early money on this game has all been Stanford. And, you know, being that USC is one of those marquee teams we always talk about and usually gets, you know, a little bit of a built-in advantage, Vegas has shown, you know, no problems with moving this line.
Well, which means, let's think about this. You got to figure that they believe they're going to get USC action at 10 come game day. So you got to think that the amount of money being bet on Stanford to move this line is serious money right now, which makes me think if I could be laying less than 10, I might like Stanford here. Now, there's another reason I lean Stanford is the teams were profiled perfectly for a Stanford cover. Stanford's 12-3 ATS at home. USC is 5-12 ATS on the road. USC doesn't play well on the road recently. Stanford plays well at home. Another thing is Vegas actually believes Stanford's underrated. AP has them at 16. The odds makers poll has Stanford at 10, which is a pretty significant margin. So I think this may be a situation where at 7, I play Stanford really quick, and there was a few 7s out there very early. At 10, I'm not sure if USC's not the side, though I'm not anxious to play that.
I actually have this game at 10. I'm on the fence, no play. I have Stanford winning by 10 and 41-31. You're going to see points scored again. Nobody has really slowed this Stanford offense down. Oregon did in the second half, but let's see what happens this week with Oregon, with Southern Cal. Southern Cal's defense last week, and nobody's going to compare Washington's offense to Stanford's. Washington put up 536 yards on this USC team.
And you make a good point. Stanford's probably going to want to run it up. If they're up 10 late, they're going to be looking to score. I think this, of all the games we've done in the last 2 years, I think the psychological end of this game is more complicated, and there's more pros and cons on each side than any game I've seen. This is a great game for in the comment section of YouTube, specifically, or in the forums at pregame. Let's talk about how people look at the psychology of this.
Good point. I mean, that's a major point in handicapping that too many people, you know, ignore.
All right. Like I said, it's your turn to continue the conversation in the comment section with me and Marco. And next up, we're moving to the NFL.